Have you ever noticed this incredibly bizarre paradox about human behavior?
Oh, there are so many, but which one?
Right. I mean, specifically with people who claim, absolutely up and down,
Hmm.
that they do not believe in spirituality.
Okay, yeah.
Like they operate purely on logic, data, rational thought. To them, crystals are just rocks.
Just shiny rocks, yeah.
Exactly. Astrology is just a psychological parlor trick.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of like energy is relegated strictly to physics textbooks.
Right, the super rational types.
Yeah, but then they go to a shrine. Maybe it's a New Year's visit, or they're just, a tourist visiting Japan.
Hmm.
They step up to the little wooden box and they pull a fortune slip, an omikuji.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Right. And they pull a great blessing, a daikichi. And suddenly, this pillar of rational thought gets this undeniable visible thrill.
They light up.
They totally do. They fold it up carefully, they tuck it into their wallet.
Mhm.
Or worse, they pull a great curse, a daikyo, and you watch their shoulders just slump. They walk around with this lingering, heavy sense of doom for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it completely ruins our afternoon.
It does. So why on earth do we do that? Why do we let a random piece of paper dictate our internal reality when we claim we don't even believe in the system it comes from?
Well, it speaks directly to how muddy the waters of the human mind truly are.
Muddy is a good word for it.
Because we desperately want to believe we're entirely rational, right? That our conscious beliefs actually dictate our emotional reactions.
Right, that we're in control.
Exactly. But the source material we are examining today, it just completely tears that assumption apart.
It really does.
It reveals that our minds are deeply, stubbornly irrational when it comes to the narratives we construct about our own lives. We aren't actually looking for truth. We are looking for a convenient reality.
A convenient reality. I love that. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone.
Glad to be here.
So our mission today is to unpack a truly fascinating essay that takes that very concept, our desire for this convenient reality, and maps it onto our daily habits.
And it goes to some really unexpected places.
It really does. It's a piece that weaves together the hidden psychology of luck, the everyday habit of complaining, a graveyard cleaning session, and a chaotic disaster at a conveyor belt sushi restaurant.
It's quite the journey.
It is. The goal for us today is to uncover how the words we use, specifically the complaints we voice out loud, are actively shaping the reality we experience.
Yeah. And doing so by entirely stripping away the mystical.
Right. No magic here.
Exactly. We are looking strictly at the psychological and biological mechanics turning inside our own heads.
So to kick us off, the author establishes a core premise right at the beginning of the text.
And it's a sentiment that really anchors everything we are going to discuss today.
Yeah, the quote is, "The more you talk about past dissatisfaction, the further away your future becomes."
It's a heavy thought.
It is. So today, we're dissecting that invisible link between the vocabulary we choose, our unacknowledged desires, and those bizarre, coincidences that seem to manifest when we are locked into a negative spiral.
Let's start by looking at how our minds filter the world before we even open our mouths.
Going back to that fortune slip, the omikuji,
Right.
the author highlights the sheer absurdity of how a person can dismiss the divine, yet still let a piece of paper ruin their Tuesday.
It's so common, though.
It is. I mean, I consider myself a fairly logical person, but if I pull a piece of paper that says great curse, it absolutely gets in my head.
You start second-guessing things.
I do. I start looking over my shoulder.
Yeah.
But why? If my brain knows it's just a randomized, mass-produced piece of paper, why does it actively hold on to something that makes me feel anxious?
Well, to understand that reaction, the author points toward a foundational psychological mechanism,
Okay.
the self-serving bias.
The self-serving bias.
Right. Yeah, human minds are evolutionarily wired to adopt whatever narrative protects our ego. And, conversely, to blame whatever threatens our ego on external factors.
So it's a defense mechanism.
Entirely. Think about it from a survival standpoint. Maintaining a positive self-image and projecting competence, well, that was crucial for social standing in early human groups.
Oh, sure. You couldn't be seen as the weak link.
Exactly. So our brains developed a filter. When you succeed, your brain tells you it's because of your intrinsic qualities.
Like, I'm so smart, I worked so hard.
Right, your hard work, your raw intelligence. But when you fail, that same brain looks desperately for an environmental scapegoat.
Okay, so it's like a rigged coin toss, where heads means I'm a genius and tails means the wind was blowing.
That is a perfect analogy. The instructions were unclear, the system is rigged, the sun was in my eyes.
Right. But applying that to the omikuji paradox, I mean, if a great blessing feels wonderful because it acts as a preemptive guarantee for our ego.
Like a cosmic stamp of approval on your genius.
Exactly. How does the great curse serve us? A curse feels bad. Shouldn't the self-serving bias instantly reject it?
You would think so, but that is the genius of the ego's defense mechanism, as outlined in the text.
Okay, how so?
A great curse is terrifying on the surface, but functionally it hands you a preemptive excuse for your future failures.
Boy, really? A preemptive excuse.
Yeah. Let's say you pull that terrible fortune, and then you completely bomb a crucial job interview later that week.
Oh, I see.
Your ego is entirely protected. You don't have to face the uncomfortable reality that perhaps you were underprepared.
Or that you just didn't have the right skills for the job.
Exactly. You can simply say, well, the Omikuji warned me my luck was terrible right now. The universe was simply against me.
Oh, wow. So we aren't reacting to the mystical properties of the paper at all.
But not at all. You are reacting to the immense relief of finding a designated scapegoat.
We're essentially just shopping for excuses in the guise of spirituality.
Yes. And the text points out the inherent danger in this.
What's the danger?
Well, people will loudly claim credit or thank the universe when things go right, declaring that they are blessed.
Sure, we see that all the time.
But the moment things go wrong, they blame the specific shrine. They will say the shrine's energy was off or it just wasn't a good fit.
They treat the divine like a bad Yelp review.
Literally.
1 star.
Yeah.
This shrine gave me a flat tire.
Exactly. And which, exposes a much deeper, more pervasive human tendency.
Yeah, the author uses this shrine behavior as a microcosm, right?
Right. We project our unvented frustrations and our insecurities onto our environment and our relationships constantly.
Because we refuse to hold the tension of our own shortcomings, so we just externalize it.
Exactly. We make our bad mood the fault of the traffic, the barista, the partner, the boss.
We treat the people and the environments around us like those bad fortune slips.
We really do.
And that seamlessly transitions into the actual narrative of this text, because the author witnesses this exact phenomenon, this projection of internal toxicity onto an external environment, happen in real time.
It's such a striking scene.
It is, and they witness it in an environment where it is glaringly inappropriate.
The graveyard cleaning.
Yes, the graveyard scene. I want to paint the picture for you listening because the contrast here is vital.
It really sets the stage.
So the author agrees to meet up with a friend. Now, this friend had previously reached out with a very specific request. They asked to meet up so they could vent about work.
Right, establishing the intention early.
But the activity they're meeting up to do is cleaning Jizo statues at a local cemetery.
Which is quite the choice for a venting session.
Right. For context, Jizo statues are these serene stone figures in Japan, revered as guardians of children and travelers.
They are very culturally significant.
This isn't a casual park. It is a sacred, quiet place of reverence. You are literally there to wash away dirt and purify the space.
It is an environment that demands mindfulness and respect.
So the author, recognizing the massive clash of intentions here, tries to establish a boundary.
Very sensibly.
They make a pact with a friend. The author says, I understand you need to vent, but let's agree to at least refrain from complaining while we are physically cleaning the statues.
It's a highly reasonable request.
Totally reasonable. The friend laughs, agrees, and says they understand completely.
What?
But the pact doesn't even survive the first few minutes.
The failure of that pact is the catalyst for the entire psychological exploration of the essay.
Yeah, the author notes that within moments of picking up a brush and a bucket of water, the floodgates open.
They just couldn't help themselves.
The friend cannot stop themselves. They unleash a relentless torrent of complaints about their workplace, their manager, the sheer unfairness of their daily life.
And the contradiction there is staggering.
It's wild. They are physically, with their own hands, attempting to purify a sacred object. But verbally, they are vomiting up all their internal stagnation.
Right. And we have to analyze why the friend was physically incapable of honoring a boundary they intellectually agreed to.
Because they knew they were in a graveyard. They knew the pact.
Exactly. But as the author observes, habitual complaints bypass conscious thought entirely.
How does that happen, though? How does an adult simply lose executive control over the words coming out of their mouth?
Well, consider the neurology of habit formation.
Okay, let's get into the brain science.
When we repeat a behavior in this case, vocalizing a specific narrative of victimization and dissatisfaction, The brain builds a highly efficient neural pathway for it.
It gets hardwired.
Right, specifically in the basal ganglia, which governs our automatic routines.
So it's like riding a bike.
Exactly like that. It takes active, conscious energy to suppress a habit. When an emotion like frustration or anger is triggered, that emotion takes the path of least resistance.
Oh, I see.
The mouth begins to move, and the well-worn script begins to play before the prefrontal cortex, that's the logical, rule-following part of the brain, can step in and say, wait, we are in a cemetery.
Wow. So the habit just overrides the context.
Complete.
So it's not that the friend was intentionally trying to be disrespectful to the graveyard.
Yeah, not at all.
It's that their negativity had become so ingrained, it was basically running on autopilot.
The neural rut was simply too deep. The conversational momentum naturally slid right into it.
That makes so much sense.
And this raises a profound question about the physical weight of those words.
Yeah, if our complaints are that deeply rooted and we are constantly projecting them outward.
What is the consequence of putting that much negative, chaotic energy into our immediate environment?
And that brings us to what might be the most fascinating sequence in the entire source text.
It's definitely the most dramatic.
Absolutely. So, after a long, draining session of cleaning graves, while being subjected to this relentless monologue of toxic venting,
Sounds exhausting.
the author and the friend decide they need to decompress. So they leave the cemetery and walk to a nearby conveyor belt sushi restaurant.
Which is a massive shift in environment.
Huge shift from a sacred, quiet space to a highly mechanized public space.
Right.
The author specifically notes the atmosphere. The restaurant isn't packed. They are seated in a spacious, empty section.
So it's supposed to be chill.
It's designed to be a relaxing, low-friction experience. But the friend has not stopped complaining.
Oh,
The change of venue didn't break the neural loop. They are still going on and on about work, and then absolute chaos erupts.
this part is so wild.
The author vividly details a bizarre mechanical failure. The plates on the conveyor belt lane right next to them suddenly jam.
Just a physical blockage on the belt.
Yes. And because the belt itself keeps pushing forward, the sushi plates begin violently clattering against the jam.
Oh, man.
They start buckling, crashing, and falling off the lane entirely. Sushi is flying everywhere.
What a nightmare.
The author is frantically trying to physically hold the place back with their bare hands while shouting for the staff.
I can't even imagine.
And I have to emphasize the sheer social agony of this moment. In a quiet Japanese restaurant, causing a public disruption is basically a nightmare scenario.
The social pressure is immense. People are looking.
Exactly. A young, panicked part-time worker rushes over and starts bowing and trying to clean up, but the manager is nowhere to be found.
Of course not.
There is no formal apology from the establishment for the machine malfunctioning. And the worst part,
It gets worse.
the author realizes that the entire restaurant has gone dead silent and turned to stare at them.
Oh, that's mortifying.
Every single patron is looking at the author and the friend, and the collective gaze carries a very clear accusation.
Like, what did you do to break the machine?
Exactly. They become the focal point of the environment's hostility.
This is just so intense.
And just when the embarrassment reaches its peak, a second mechanical failure occurs.
Unbelievable.
Plates suddenly begin crashing off the high-speed delivery lane at a completely different table across the room.
Oh, so it wasn't them at all.
Right. And only then does the manager finally emerge from the back, realizing the entire system is failing, which draws the stares away from the author.
The text uses this bizarre string of events to pivot into an analysis of causality. The author reflects on whether this was merely a coincidence or if the sheer volume of negative words they had been immersed in played a role. The text flirts with the concept of karma.
Okay, let me pause you right there, because this is where my skepticism really flares up.
I get it.
Are we suggesting that complaining about a middle manager actually causes a motorized sushi conveyor belt to break down?
It sounds a bit out there.
Because that sounds like the exact mystical thinking we said we were going to avoid. It sounds like magical realism.
It does, and if we were looking at this through a mystical lens, we would conclude that the universe was actively punishing them for complaining in a graveyard.
Right, like they angered the spirits.
But the author's grounded perspective and the psychological reality is far more interesting than magic.
Okay, break that down for me.
Even if you completely remove spirituality and energy fields from the equation, the phenomenon of karma operates perfectly within the bounds of biology and psychology.
Wait, how does biology explain a sushi disaster?
We have to look at the mechanics of perception.
Perception.
The sushi plate jam was a mundane, mechanical error. Machines break.
Right, that happens every day.
However, the experience of that event, the feeling of agonizing embarrassment, the acute awareness of everyone staring, the intense frustration at the manager's absence that experience is massively amplified by the psychological state the author and the friend were already in.
Oh, because they had been bathing in negativity for hours.
Exactly. When you spend 2 hours vocalizing and absorbing heavy, dense complaints, your body responds.
Your stress hormones go up.
Cortisol and adrenaline levels rise. Your nervous system is primed for threat.
So you are literally wearing a pair of hostile tinted glasses.
Yes. If they had walked into that restaurant laughing, having just shared a joyful, uplifting
So
conversation,
machine breaking might have been hilarious.
they might have cheerfully helped the waiter pick up the plates and made a joke out of it.
That is so true. The event is neutral. The interpretation is hostile.
The words you consistently emit fundamentally alter the filter through which you process reality. When your internal state is chaotic and dissatisfied, you become hyper-vigilant to chaos and dissatisfaction in your environment.
You interpret a mechanical failure as a personal attack.
You perceive the stares of strangers not as mere curiosity, but as an aggressive accusation.
That's incredible.
The karma wasn't the machine breaking.
The karma was being psychologically trapped into reality where the machine breaking felt like a nightmare.
That is exactly it.
That is a brilliant distinction. The negativity didn't cause the event, but it absolutely guaranteed that the event would be experienced as a disaster,
It shaped the reality.
which leads us to a glaring contradiction in how we live our lives.
What's that?
Well, if complaining primes our nervous system for stress, if it colors our reality in these dark shades, and if it traps us in a hostile perception of the world,
Yeah.
why on earth is venting considered a healthy coping mechanism?
The text confronts this head-on, actually, dismantling the illusion of venting.
I really want to challenge this because it goes against decades of conventional wisdom.
It really does.
We are constantly told, sometimes even by therapists, frankly, that we need to get things off our chest.
It's the standard advice.
We use the pressure cooker analogy. If you don't let the steam out, you're going to explode.
Right.
The friend in the text clearly believed this. I mean, even amidst the flying sushi, they just kept complaining.
They couldn't turn it off.
The author tried to change the subject to look forward, but the friend kept snapping back to the past, grievances like a rubber band.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you saying the entire concept of getting it off your chest is psychologically damaging?
The author suggests that society has conflated two very different things.
Okay, which are?
Acknowledging an emotion and ruminating on a victim narrative.
Okay, that's a big difference.
Acknowledging that you are angry or hurt is healthy. But the act of complaining, of verbally repeating the story of how you were wronged, does not act as a release valve.
It doesn't.
The core realization the text presents is that verbalizing dissatisfaction doesn't release it.
Yeah.
It engraves it deeper into your psyche.
But it feels good in the moment.
Yeah.
Like when I complain to a friend and they validate me, I feel a physical sense of relief.
You feel a transient hit of dopamine from the social validation, yes.
Oh, so it's just a dopamine hit.
Pretty much. But let's look at how the brain processes language. Think about how you memorize a speech or study for a test.
You say the information out loud.
Exactly. Speaking helps the brain organize data and solidify memories.
Oh, wow.
When you repeatedly vocalize a complaint, you aren't expelling the poison from your body. You are actively studying your own misery.
Studying your own misery, that is dark.
You are organizing the data to solidify a very specific, rigid self-image. I am a miserable person, I am a victim of my circumstances, and I am permanently trapped.
So venting isn't letting the steam out. It's using the steam to weld the lid of the pressure cooker shut.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. Words solidify into thoughts. Solidified thoughts become beliefs.
And beliefs dictate your actions.
Exactly. Venting feels like a productive release, but it is actually a psychological trap that ensures you remain stagnant.
It keeps you stuck.
The more you talk about how terrible your past was, the more neural resources you dedicate to that narrative.
Leaving very little cognitive space to imagine or construct a different future.
Precisely.
That is a terrifyingly common trap.
Right.
I mean, we all know people who've been complaining about the exact same dynamic, a bad boss, a lazy partner, a toxic friend for years.
Decades, sometimes.
They vent constantly, yet their situation never ever changes. The venting is the mechanism keeping them stuck.
Is the glue.
But this leads to the most desperate question of the entire deep dive. The friend in the text actually asks it out loud.
I remember that part.
If I'm not allowed to complain, where am I supposed to vent? I'm going to explode.
It is a vital question. Because the author is absolutely not advocating for toxic positivity.
Right. You can't just pretend your house isn't on fire. If you are legitimately being mistreated at work, stuffing those feelings down and slapping a smile on your face is a recipe for a breakdown.
The physical tension in your chest is real. It has to go somewhere.
So what's the alternative?
The paradigm shift the author introduces is profound. You do not suppress the emotion. You translate it.
Translate it.
You take the raw energy of the grievance, the anger, the frustration, and instead of aiming it backward at the past, you rephrase it into a desire for the future. You change the vocabulary.
Translate it. I love this concept, but I want to make sure it's deeply practical for you listening. Let's do a workshop here.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's take some common everyday complaints and walk through the real-time translation of them.
Let's start with the classic workplace grievance from the text.
The one about the boss.
Yeah. The complaint is, my boss never listens to me, they interrupt me, and they don't value my input.
Such a common complaint. And repeating it just makes you resent the boss more. How we translate that?
You extract the hidden desire.
The translation becomes, I want to be in an environment where my opinions are properly received and valued.
Wow. Okay, the underlying emotion, the desire to be heard, is exactly the same, but the direction is entirely different.
Right.
My boss never listens, casts me as a passive victim trapped in a room. I want to be in an environment where I am valued. Cast me as an active agent looking for a door.
It forces you to consider actions.
Yeah, like, do I need to request a formal meeting to change this dynamic? Do I need to update my resume?
Precisely. It moves the brain from a state of rumination to a state of problem solving.
Let's try another one. This is the ultimate track complaint. No matter what I do, nothing changes. The system is rigged.
That's pure despair.
It is.
Yeah.
How do you translate despair?
Well, according to the author, the translation is, I really want to believe in the possibility of change. I want to find a way to make a tangible impact.
That is incredibly poignant.
It changes the whole tone.
It reveals a beautiful insight from the text. Complaints are often just unfulfilled wishes in disguise.
They really are. We only complain about things we deeply care about. If you didn't care about the quality of your work, you wouldn't care if your boss listened.
You just clock out and go home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The negative emotion isn't an evil force to be banished. It is a crucial signpost pointing directly at your core values.
By shifting your vocabulary from anger at the past to a stated direction for the future, you give your brain a new exit route for the pressure.
You use the steam of your frustration to power an engine that moves you forward, rather than just letting it whistle out uselessly into the air.
That's exactly how it works.
So we've covered the psychology of the self-serving bias, the trap of rumination, and this really powerful tool of translating complaints into wishes.
It's a lot of ground.
But I want to land on the biological reality of this. If I start doing this tomorrow, if I stop complaining and only vocalize my translated wishes, how does changing a few sentences actually alter the reality I experience?
To understand the physical mechanics of this, we have to look at how the brain manages the sheer volume of daily thought. The text notes that humans experience tens of thousands of thoughts every single day.
That's a lot of chatter.
And the vast majority of them are repetitive, recycled loops of our anxieties and memories.
We are constantly playing the greatest hits of our own insecurities.
We really are. And simultaneously, we are bombarded by millions of bits of sensory data every second.
Visuals, sounds, social cues.
Right. The brain is incapable of consciously processing all of it. So it employs a biological bouncer, a selective filter known as the reticular activating system, or RAS.
The reticular activating system.
Yeah.
Where is that and what does it do?
It is a bundle of nerves at our brainstem. Its entire job is to filter the data coming in from the world and decide what gets passed up to your conscious mind.
Okay, so it's a gatekeeper.
Exactly. And the rules it follows are remarkably simple. The RAS prioritizes capturing information that matches the parameters you set for it.
And how do you set the parameters?
Through the words and concepts you focus on most often.
Oh. So if my mental catchphrases are, people are selfish, or nothing ever works out for me, what happens?
The RAS operates very much like a social media algorithm. It feeds you more of what you engage with.
Ooh, that's a scary thought.
If your chosen vocabulary revolves around selfishness and failure, your RAS creates a downward spiral. It will actively hunt your environment for evidence to prove your words true.
Give me an example.
You will completely fail to notice the person who kindly held the door for you because that data doesn't fit the parameter,
Right.
but you will hyperfixate on the person who cut you off in traffic. Your brain will highlight them and say, see, we were right. People are selfish.
Wow, the brain delivers the exact reality your words requested.
It does.
So my negative words were literally blinding me to positive data. But what if I use the translation tool? If I establish an upward spiral?
If you consciously choose words of future expectation, if your repeated catchphrases become, I am looking for an environment that values me, or I want to see the possibility for change, your brain's algorithm fundamentally shifts.
The bouncer changes the rules.
Yes, your RAS is now programmed to hunt for different data. It starts noticing the seeds of possibility.
So I start seeing things I missed before.
You might suddenly spot a job posting that you would have previously scrolled right past. You might hear a throwaway comment from a colleague that sparks a solution.
Because my filter is looking for it now.
The opportunities were always present in your environment, but your filter was previously programmed to screen them out.
This isn't magic. It's not the universe rewarding you.
Yeah.
It is simply your biological hardware finally opening its eyes to the resources that were already there.
To bring our journey full circle, the environment you find yourself in, whether it is a serene, sacred graveyard or a clattering, chaotic sushi restaurant, is ultimately secondary.
Right, the location doesn't matter.
The physical location does not dictate your experience. The true environment you live in, the reality you perceive, is constructed entirely by the quality of the words coming out of your mouth.
That is a staggering realization to walk away with.
It really puts the power back in your hands.
It does. So as you go about your day today, keep the self-serving bias in mind.
Catch yourself.
Yeah, the next time you find yourself obsessing over a metaphorical great curse fortune, catch yourself. When things go wrong, recognize your mind's desperate craving for a convenient scapegoat.
Notice when you are trying to blame the shrine or the manager or the traffic.
Exactly. Instead of examining the narrative you're constructing.
And remain vigilant against the illusion of venting.
Right. When you feel the urge to complain, recognize that you are simply digging the rut deeper. Catch yourself and translate the emotion. Use the steam to power the engine. I want to leave you with a final thought experiment to explore tonight.
I love a good thought experiment.
Think about the biggest, heaviest complaint you have voiced over the last 48 hours. The grievance you've been repeating to your friends, or just, playing on a loop in your own head.
We all have one.
We do.
Yeah.
Do not judge yourself for it. We all get caught in the loop. But sit down with it tonight and ask yourself, what is the hidden, unfulfilled wish buried beneath that complaint?
Dig deep.
What is the core value you feel is being violated? And then make a pact with yourself. What happens tomorrow if you only allow yourself to speak about the wish and you entirely banish the complaint?
It's a challenge.
Try it. Watch how quickly the algorithm of your reality begins to shift. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.